I'm a little late to this video, but today I'm going to be reacting to Will Smith's apology. Not to give you guys context, not that most of you need it, but some of you may need it. But to give you context, back in February, the Oscars, of course, happened. Will Smith won best male actor for King Richard. But prior to that, Chris Rock had made a joke. Now the joke was kind of referring to Jane, who is Will Smith's wife, and it was kind of making fun of her bald head. Because of course she's bald, and the joke was, Jay, love you, G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it, which involves a bald girl. At first, Will Smith appeared to be laughing, but soon we saw that he got up on stage and slapped Chris Rock, something I think nobody expected. And I'm not gonna lie to you, if I'm going to theorize, I think Will didn't even think what was going. I feel like he was I can't tell you what he feels, but I feel like when he was walking on the stage, he didn't even have an idea of what he was going to do. I think he just wanted to show a piece of his mind, but either way, it's wrong. I understand. Look, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I think finding jokes offensive or not liking a joke is completely okay. At the end of the day, I can't judge you based on your own experience because everyone feels a certain way towards different types of jokes. People use different kinds of jokes as coping mechanisms. A lot of people like to joke about different things, and you're always 100% entitled to feeling offended by a joke. However, you go very far once there's assault, because what he did was assault. I know some people are trying to say, oh, but it's just a slap. Oh, I was like, oh, well, he was making fun of his wife. It's like, there's no justifying. He assaulted a man live on camera with 100% proof. This isn't something, this isn't a rumor. This isn't TMZ drama. This is literally a man assaulting another man for a simple joke, quite simple joke. I've heard far more offensive jokes than this in my entire lifetime. And not only that, but I also think people need to sometimes understand the intentions of a joke, because Chris Rock, you could clearly tell he wasn't trying to be offensive. Not only that, but he was making jokes at everyone. So I feel like Will Smith in that situation handled it very poorly, and he deserved far more of a punishment than what he got. Because really, the only punishment he got was 10 years of not being able to go to the Oscars. However, he's still able to be nominated, which is kind of BS. I mean, honestly, if it was me, I feel like if I was the Oscars, I would at least punish him from any nominations for 5 years, 5 years at least, and then not let him go to the Oscars for at least 10 years, because I'm sorry, but you do have to set an example. And not only that, but I also think it was embarrassing they didn't kick him out. He should have been kicked out. But hey, you know what? Months happened, and I'm willing to hear out his apology. So yeah, I only saw like around this part, so I guess we'll watch it through. All right, let's see. It's been a minute. Over the last few months, I've been doing a lot of thinking and personal work. You asked a lot of fair questions that I want to take some time to answer. I'm also going to leave the captions on, but just in case some of you guys need to read it. I'm going to say this right now. I don't get why they had to add all those first 23 seconds. Those first 23 seconds or so. I'm sorry, but why do you have to show him walk to the couch? Just this is how I think the PR team mishandled. At least from what I've seen so far, they mishandled how to do this kind of apology video. All right.
Why didn't you apologize to Chris in your acceptance speech? I was fogged out by that point. It's all fuzzy. I've reached out to Chris, and the message that came back is that he's not ready to talk, and when he is, he will reach out. So I will say to you, Chris, I apologize to you. My behavior was unacceptable, and I'm here whenever.
I'm gonna say this right now. So I think so far I've loved that he apologized to Chris. I don't know. It's just it feels too heavily produced, and I think that's a problem because I'm seeing a lot of people negatively aren't liking this video. I'm seeing a lot of people saying it's not a genuine apology. All I have to say so far is the PR team really messed this up. I feel like they should have done some research on how apology videos are made, and it doesn't, the one thing I'll say doesn't feel genuine is how it's filmed, because you're seeing these different camera shots. Not only that, but his shoes are untied. Look, look down there, his shoes are untied. Let me remove the captions. His shoes are untied. That I noticed that. What the heck? But let's go back. So the one thing I don't like is it just feels so insincere, because you're seeing there's camera angles. It feels like he's reading off something. Then right here at the top left, you see the world is sick, love is the cure, even though he assaulted a man live on footage. And look, I'm not holding back. I always believe in forgiveness. I do think, look, the situation is not that severe. I mean, he did assault a man, but that is something you can learn from. The only thing you probably can't be forgiven is probably like murder, or if you genuinely beat him to like a pole, or like punched him or something like that. But I don't like this, because it kind of makes me feel, it kind of feels like he's victimizing himself in a way. And look, I know I always believe the world is not black and white. There's always gray in the middle. I always believe people can learn from their mistakes. I always believe that different situations, it's always hard to tell what it's going on through a person's mind. Sometimes you don't know. Like, for example, let's say you're at fast food and that employee's acting like an asshole to you. Well, you don't know their life. Maybe for all you know, they went through a breakup. Maybe, I don't know, they found out that, I don't know, they're pregnant or something like that. Like, you know, you never know somebody's life. And, you know, Will, to some extent, we don't know what he's really feeling. It doesn't seem like he's happy with the relationship with Jade, because she's publicly been very, I feel like I'm somebody who doesn't care about open relationships. Me personally, I'm somebody who believes, and at least for my own personal stuff, I believe relationships should be with two people, solely two people. I don't care whether you're gay, straight, bi, whatever. As long as it's two consenting adults, and two adults who are together and only together, because I feel like that makes the relationship more special. I feel like you're more connected to the person. But again, I'm also fine with open relation. Not me personally, but I'm fine if somebody else has it. I don't care. But it kind of feels like, when I see all the interviews, when I've seen everything, it kind of feels like Jade basically forced the open relationship. I feel like they were close to divorce until Jade was like, okay, how about we have an open relationship? And I'm sorry, but I would never accept to something like that. But I also understand, you know, that's the mother of his children. It's more complex than more people think it is. I just can't stand when people think it's a black and white situation. And I feel like we need to see a little bit of a nuance. Not saying that you should do this. I'm just saying that to some people it's a different perspective. Maybe he's deeply in love with Jade. For all we know, I don't know. I don't know the relationship. But I do think that it does seem like Jade forced the open. And look, in a relationship, you should not be forcing something on on the other person. And, you know, because that's just a dangerous way, especially when it's something as serious as like an open relationship. And not only that, but she's been very public about how she wasn't satisfied by Will. And I'm sorry, but even if you're thinking this, even if this is true, I just don't think it's something you should be telling people publicly. Unless they're like a close friend or a relative, I don't know. But I just feel like she shouldn't be saying that out loud like that, because it also kind of, you know, because it's not something we're used to, it does hurt the other person. Not only that, but even if you're in an open relationship, I just don't think the other person wants to hear that they couldn't satisfy their partner. But I don't know, Will's apology so far, it just seems way too PR heavy. It doesn't feel like it. I feel like what it could have been is just him. He grabs his phone, and I'm sure he has good quality on his phone, grabs it, and you can edit out the beginning part, and you can be like, hey guys, my name's Will Smith, and I want to apologize to Chris Rock. And that's how I would have done it. That's how I would have done it. I just think it feels too unrealistic when you have like two camera angles, you're walking to the couch, and it seems like you're reading something from far, you know. I mean, he's an old man, so he's probably struggling in reading the cards. And I feel like the PR team could have just told him, hey Will, just record your phone, we'll see if it works out. If it doesn't work out, we can try again. Because we have to remember, Will Smith is a professional actor. He's very talented. He's one of the best actors I've ever seen. I'm a big fan of Will Smith, and I always will be. However, it just feels very disingenuous, because, you know, actors are very good at their job for a reason. And this kind of feels like that. It feels kind of like a performance. I mean, he's an Oscar winner, so I think if anyone can do a good apology, it's probably Will Smith. I don't know.
You're ready to talk. I want to apologize to Chris's mother. I saw an interview that Chris's mother did, and, you know, that was one of the things about that moment. I just didn't realize, and, you know, I wasn't thinking, but how many people got hurt in that moment.
I like that
So I
he's
want
saying that.
to apologize to Chris's mother. I want to apologize to
I'm glad he acknowledged that, because I mean, I'm not a parent. I'm not a parent, so maybe less I'm the last person to speak on this. But I feel like as a parent, when you see your kid unjustifiably hurt like that and embarrassed like that, I think it hurts you even more. Especially because Chris didn't really do anything wrong, and it hurts. It hurts as a parent. Now, of course, I can't speak on that. That's just what I think. He probably went through her mind, or anyone in her family's mind. But yeah.
Chris's family, specifically Tony Rock. We had a great relationship. Tony Rock was my man, and this is probably irreparable.
Okay.
I spent the last 3 months replaying and understanding the nuances and the complexities of what happened in that moment. And I'm not going to try to unpack all of that right now, but I can say
I would kind of like if he did that, though.
to all of you, there is no part of me that thinks that was the right way to behave in that moment. There's no part of me that thinks that's the optimal way to handle a feeling of disrespect or insults. After Jada rolled her eyes, did she tell you to do something? No. It's like, I made a choice.
I'm gonna theorize on this. Maybe I shouldn't. This is way too personal. Maybe I shouldn't be talking about somebody else's marriage or anything like that. My assumption, because when you initially see when Chris Rock said the joke, you initially see Will laughing. If I'm to theorize, I think because sometimes you just laugh randomly. Like, there are times where someone will say something unfunny, but because it's normal to laugh at a joke, you just kind of laugh almost by instinct. That's happened to me. I feel like that's what happened to Will. He laughed by instinct. Maybe he did find it funny, but I feel like within seconds, because you could also see Jade kind of rolling her eyes a bit. I feel like he saw his wife. And I do think he did it for love. Ultimately, I think he still loves Jade, because if he didn't, why would they still be together? I don't know. Especially because their relationship is publicly at least, it's in a very awkward situation, to where if Will Smith was to divorce her, I think it would be almost like people would justifiably think that. But my assumption of what happened is he saw her roll her eyes. They didn't talk at all. I don't think Jade was like, F him up. I don't think it was anything like that. What I think happened is Will saw that and was like, oh, he's disrespecting my wife. And I do think that Will has had a lot of issues, especially with his wife in the past, at least publicly. Her saying that she didn't feel satisfied by Will, saying they're in an open relationship. And, almost he was memed at one point. And I feel like all that anger was built up, and it caused him to do the stupid thing he ended up doing. And so I think a lot of people want to say that Jade said something, or that she instigated this. And look, she's of course not innocent. She plays a part in this, but I also think it was like frustration and anger built up in Will, almost to a point where he couldn't handle it anymore. Especially at a public event like this where everyone's watching, he's mocked again. I think that was just a man feeling that much rage. It's why I always tell younger men, because in our society, and I'm sorry if I'm going way too social on this, in our society, young men are told, be a man, don't cry, don't show emotions. You should always show that you're manly, you're strong, you're masculine. And every young man, I guarantee you that most of you young men watching this, that's probably what you were taught by your dad, maybe even your mom. But for the most time, it's usually the male figure in your life, whether it's an uncle, dad, grandpa, whoever. Usually that's the case. Usually men are kind of taught to be strong, never cry, and to never talk about your feelings. While women usually are able to express their emotions, express their sadness. That's usually how it works in society, and that's one of my problems with society. I don't necessarily believe it when feminists talk about toxic masculinity. Like, there are some things I think women don't understand about men, but I do think the main thing about toxic masculinity that we need to discuss is when men aren't able to talk. It's why you rarely see men talk to therapists, and that's why the suicide rates for men are usually the highest, because men are barely able to talk. I mean, that's kind of one of the issues I have in my life. I'm very private of my life just because I don't like knowing about. I don't like it when people know who I am. I don't like it when people know too much about me. And I think part of it has to play with how I was raised, how I was told not to cry. And I'm also scared of crying in public, and I won't lie to you. And I think that's very dangerous because eventually, because think about it, men are more violent than women. That's undoubtedly facts. I mean, when you're a kid, you horse around with your other friends, you'll play fight, or you'll push, wrestle. Usually men are more violent. You rarely see that with women. And I think because you're told to be strong, you're told to never show emotion, I think part of the problem is it teaches men not to go see therapy or to seek counseling or to talk to somebody about these kinds of things, because you're trained as a kid not to do those things. And when you're taught something as a kid, that usually sticks with you for the rest of your life. Like, for example, if you're raised, Catholic, you're probably going to grow up and still be Catholic because it's just a value you learn as a kid. Growing up, I was a big comic book nerd. And, the older I get, that still stays with me. That just usually happens in life. And I think Will is an example of this, that all this rage, all this anger, all this not being able to talk to somebody about these things, all this embarrassment online led to this moment. And it's why I always tell younger men that, hey, it's okay to cry, it's okay to show emotions, it's okay to go seek therapy, it's okay to express your sadness, because at the end of the day, one of the best ways to stop yourself from doing something stupid is by expressing it first, because sometimes hearing yourself say something is better than actually doing it. Like, for example, let's say you're mad at somebody and you want to beat them up. Sometimes even saying that just causes you not to want to beat them up anymore, because now you kind of hear yourself and you think, wow, that sounds stupid. And I feel like that kind of happened to Will. Will at first was like, all right, I'm going to hurt this guy, or I'm going to embarrass him because he embarrassed me. And then I feel like at first, I mean, of course you heard him yell. He was like, all right, look, I stood up for my wife. But I feel like a couple of hours later, or maybe later that night when he was sleeping, I feel like he would genuinely felt regret, because he's like, holy crap, I just embarrassed myself even more than prior. And that's kind of my assumption as to what happened. I don't think it was necessarily that Jade said something. It's possible she did. But my assumption is that he, at that point, was at a boiling point. It was almost no turning around anymore. That's kind of my theory, but let's continue.
On my own, from my own experiences, from my history with Chris, Jada had nothing to do with it. I'm sorry, babe. I'm going to say sorry to my kids and my family for the heat that I brought on.
I appreciate that.
To all my fellow nominees, this is a community. It's like I won because you voted for me, and it really breaks my heart to have stolen.
Can I say something? I can't stand that the camera keeps switching back and back, because I feel like when he's looking at the camera, it kind of feels like he's addressing us. When it turns, but when you see like camera 2, to me it just feels like it's not being genuine. It just feels like it's starting to feel like a movie. But I like this, like if you just kept this camera shot the entire time, you cut away the first beginning part where he sits down, that would have felt like a very genuine apology. But right now it just feels way too much of a production, and honestly I don't like that. But
and tarnished your moment. I can still see Questlove's eyes. It happened on Questlove's award, and it's like I'm sorry really isn't sufficient.
So far the apology has been very genuine. I just don't like I don't like the camera shots. Why who thought that? I'm sorry, but who thinks that making it look like a movie was the right way to go? I don't know. A lot of YouTubers do awful apology videos, and I'm sorry, but making it seem this professional almost feels very disingenuous. I'm sorry, I don't want to be that guy, but it just seems very disingenuous. But the things he said, like he said he feels remorse. I like that he addressed Chris Rock's mom specifically. I like that he addressed, he embarrassed his family. I like that. I just don't like this whole camera shot thing. I don't know, but oh well.
What would you say to the people who looked up to you before
I don't like this question though.
the slap, or people who expressed that you let them down? So there's two things. One, disappointing people is my central trauma. I hate when
I think this is true. Just looking at the example, I feel like he didn't want to disappoint Jade, because I also think that one thing that may have ran through his mind is, he felt like Jade was gonna be disappointed that he just let Chris Rock make that joke. I don't know. I don't know.
and I let people down.
Again, my theory is, it was just anger built up on him. Although I think that he spoke to a therapist prior to this. Now I don't know this, but I believe the therapist even said that Will's gonna do something he's gonna regret, based on the conversations he's had with Will.
So it hurts. It hurts me psychologically and emotionally to know I didn't live up to people's image and impression of me. And
I don't like that he's talking about that though. Like, I feel like it would have been much simpler if he recouped. I feel like the best way to have done it, because I like a couple of things he said. I feel like the best way is use this camera shot you got at out the beginning and just kind of be like, hey, my name's Will Smith, and you might know this incident. And I feel like he could have kind of rekindled the situation that happened. He could have been like, at that moment I was just enraged and furious, and he could have been like, hey, I'm unjustified in having done that action, and then going through step by step, and then apologizing to each individual, and then after that apologize to the people, being like, hey, I apologize for embarrassing my fans and all that. I don't know, I just don't like that he's talking about his image.
the work I'm trying to do is I am deeply remorseful, and I'm trying to be remorseful without being ashamed of myself. Right? I'm human, and I
understand this. It's true. Humans, we all make mistakes. I guarantee you, each and every one of us, all of you, all of me, all of us have made a mistake that we deeply regret. I just don't think that when you're apologizing, you shouldn't be saying, I'm a human, I make mistakes. I feel like when you say that, it comes off as you're trying to victimize yourself. I understand it, and it is 100% true. But usually in an apology, you should be addressing the people who are affected by what you did. And then when you apologize, you say, hey, I apologize for doing this, this, this. Whether you want to be friends with me or not, that's up to you. But I just want to let you know, apologies. Because usually in an apology, you should not expect forgiveness. That's the number one thing. When you apologize for something, no matter how big or small, you shouldn't expect forgiveness immediately, because usually your apology is just you trying to tell that person that what you did was wrong and that you shouldn't do it again. And then you let that person decide how to take your apology. I do think that eventually this will blow over. It is going to be a stain in Will Smith's legacy. I think it's going to be something that will always live on with him. I think he did lose some respect for this. I don't even know how this will affect his next movie. I'm still going to be a fan, unless he does it again. If he does it again, then clearly he didn't learn. But, I think that this won't really stain his legacy, because I think even now, people kind of moved on from it. Because we kind of realized, okay, we can't really, because it was a serious thing, but it wasn't that serious. It's not like something that should end, like, for example, the James Franco allegations, that should end your career. That is true. Or like the, what's that game? I don't remember his name, but like, the R. Kelly stuff, the EDP stuff, like, that's something you can't forgive. The Will Smith stuff is forgivable because he did slap a man, and while yes, it's a bad thing, that is something you can eventually move on and forgive. That's something you can eventually move on from. But at the same time, when you apologize, you shouldn't just be, because it kind of feels like what he's trying to say right here is, please forgive me, because I moved on. But at the same time, you shouldn't say that because then your apology feels disingenuous. Not saying he's not. I feel like he's very genuine about this. I also think this apology should have made him months ago. I think it should have at least happened by minimum at least a month after it happened. I know he did make a public apology, but I feel like doing this kind of apology, I don't know, I just don't like it. But
a mistake, and I'm trying not to think of myself as a piece of shit. So I would say to those people, I know.
Look, I'm not liking how he's. I'm glad that he is admitting that he's at fault, and I'm glad at all that. But I feel like when you're victimizing yourself in an apology, it just comes off as disingenuous. Even though I like the apology, I think it's a pretty decent apology. I just don't like this ending part. Like, if I was his PR team, I'd probably cut out those parts, and I feel like I could have handled a better apology. You know,
not that I've made one yet. I know it was shocking, but I promise you, I am deeply devoted and committed to putting light and love and joy into the
man, this last part really probably should have been changed.
World, and you know, if you hang on, I promise we'll be able to be friends again.
And that's the end. I just don't like that last part. Look, I forgive him. I think enough time has passed. I think enough time. I'm not saying Chris Rock should forgive him. What I'm saying is, me personally, as an outsider, I forgive him. I'm not going to hold this against him because, you know, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone does stupid things. We're all human. That is true. I just think the apology, I don't think it's Will Smith's fault. I think it's more his PR team. First of all, keep this camera shot. I'll just say that. Keep this camera shot. Don't do anything special. Don't change the camera. Don't show him sitting down. Just, you know, I feel like this simpler way would have been, you know, just hold the camera there. Be like, hi, my name's Will Smith. You know, you may know me because of the incident that happened. And then be like, hey, look, what I did was stupid. What I did was wrong. And I didn't handle it in the best way. And I'm even fine if you said, you know, at that moment, I thought I was justified. But then later on, I learned I wasn't. And you know, maybe even be like, hey, I apologize for not apologizing to Chris Rock earlier or something like that. And then go by addressing, you know, his mom, his family, everyone, even name some names like he said here, and apologize to Chris Rock. Say, hey, Chris, I'm fine if you don't forgive me. I just want to let you know that I do mean my apologies. And then apologize to the audience, apologize to the fans, apologize to the Oscars. That's something I feel like he should have done more. You know, apologize to the Oscars because, you know, they had to deal with the embarrassment. And then kind of be like, hey, you know what? I'm not expecting anyone to forgive me. That's all right. You guys are the ones that make the decision. At the end of the day, I want to let everyone know I feel bad. I feel like that would have been the best way to handle it. And then just cut it there. I feel like that would have been short, sweet, simple, and it would have been done well. Not only that, but do this much earlier because I feel like it happened in February, and right now we're in July. So I feel like it's a little too long of a time period out. I don't know. This just feels way too professional. But anyways, that's going to be it for today's video. Hope you liked it. You guys let me know in the comments, what do you think about the situation? Am I wrong? Am I right? Whatever it is. I think so far I think ultimately it's a decent apology. I'm not going to hold it over his head. Even if he didn't make this video, I'm like, all right, I'll move on from it. I don't care. But, you know, overall, I think this apology could have been done better. I see already videos from like Optimus or Moist Critical saying that this is the worst apology ever. I don't think so. I do think to an extent he was very genuine. I just don't like that last part because it does sound like he's victimizing himself. And I feel like in an apology, you shouldn't be victimizing yourself, really. Because again, I'm sorry. I know a lot of people are going to get mad at what I say, but Chris Rock did nothing wrong. He's a comedian. And not only that, but the entire Oscars, he was making jokes towards actors. I mean, remember the Ricky Gervais, you know, entire comedy special, making fun of everyone in the business. You know, he was doing something barely simple. I'm sorry. Look, if I feel like what Will should have done, and again, he can't change time. I'm not saying he should have done this, but I feel like at that moment, the best way to handle that is, you know, even not laugh, just kind of Chris Rock says the joke and just look at it and be like, all right. And then if you're asked later about it, just say, hey, I personally just didn't find the joke funny. That would have been fine. That would have been justified. I feel like that's understandable because everyone's entitled to feel offended at a joke. However, when you're assaulting another person for a joke that wasn't even harmful or even bad, especially when you know damn well he wasn't just targeting Jade, he was just making fun of everyone, you know, I think that's when you're wrong about it. Do I think Chris Rock should accept this apology? Chris Rock is entitled to believe whatever. If I'm Chris Rock, I'd actually be far more disappointed at the Oscars because, first of all, where was the security? Where was the security? Why would the security not be around there? I'm not saying Chris Rock should sue, although he has a reasonable claim. I believe if he was to file a lawsuit against the Oscars, I think he would easily win because he did get hurt on the job, and it was the Oscars' fault for not having security, for not at least kicking out Will Smith. And I gotta say, Chris Rock handled it in a very professional manner. He stayed there. He kept his calm composure. He even kind of laughed it off and then just went off. At first, there was shock in him. But of course, you're going to be shocked. You don't expect to get slapped by Will Smith at the Oscars. I don't think anyone expects that. But I respect Chris Rock for how he handled this. Even after, he was just kind of like, hey, you know, oh, well. I do wonder if Chris Rock will ever make a video on this, or if he'll ever address it in an interview. I think eventually he will, because of course he's famous. He's going to be interviewed. Someone's going to ask him. But should he accept the apology? That's honestly up to him. But the way he's handled it so far from this time span, as far as we've seen, I think he's handled it very professional. I don't think I've ever seen anyone handle something like this so professional. And I think it just goes to show you that he's been in the business for this long, to the point where now he's experienced to know what to do. Because a lot of people in that situation would probably either fight back. Because imagine if Chris Rock had decided to fight back. Although, let's be honest, Will Smith would always kick Chris Rock's ass. But no, honestly, I respect him. Because it takes, you know, a lot of people want to act like they're tough just because they can fight. You know, it's always good to be able to fight, to be in good physical, you know, peak physical condition. But I feel like it takes an even bigger man to not fight. Even when something like this happens, especially when it's something petty. I can understand fighting if somebody's hurting somebody you love, or maybe they're trying to do something harmful. But if it's just something like this, I think it takes a bigger man to be like, hey, you know what? You don't bother me. You're not in my head, and I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. You know, I'll move on. You won't. You're the beta here. I'm the alpha. That. Chris Rock showed manliness at its peak in that moment. I don't even know if I can name something even manlier than just being like, hey, bro, you are the one who's going to have to make apology stuff now. I'm just here chilling, man. I'm making my money. I don't think he should file a lawsuit. I mean, he would have a reasonable claim. I just think that his reputation could kind of be ruined if he did. But I don't know. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.